Hello and welcome to another one of my videos. In this one we're going to be looking at a material that I'm getting quite fond of these days. It's corn flour or cornstarch. It's a really good material because not only can you eat it and it's a very good source of energy, you can do a lot of stuff with it. Now in the past, my favorite glue has always been PVA glue, polyvinyl acetate, white glue, Elmer's glue, Colbon, or whatever you like to call it. But these days they're bringing out new formulas like this one here, and they're a little bit pink here in Colombia, or yellow as it is with this woodworking glue. It says here, new, stronger formula, and that's really good. Wow, for carpentry, yes, because it's stronger and dries quickly, it's nice and sticky, fills gaps very well, but for our work for doing scenery and things, it's not as good as the old stuff. Why? Because it dries yellow, so you can see it. It dries pink, so you can see it, and it does not water down very well. It sort of goes all sticky and lumpy as it dries, and it rolls and doesn't stick. And doesn't spread well when it's thinner as well, and so I'm finding it's not as good as the older stuff. So I'm becoming more a fan of corn flour glue. And corn flour is very cheap, very easy to get hold of, and very easy to prepare. Corn flour is cornstarch, and we're going to cook it. We're going to put a little bit of water in there, and I only make a little bit at a time, maybe a centimetre or so, to 1 teaspoon of corn flour. That's why it's extremely cheap. And then I'm going to turn the heat on and cook it. Start with cold water, and with my brush here I'm going to stir it as it heats. When it heats, it will go clear. I can also add just a little bit of cloves just as a preservative, and also it makes it smell nice. So when it's brought to the boil, it will be like a custard. You can use it hot or cold. The hotter it is, of course, the more liquid it goes. It goes jelly-like when it's cold, but when it's hot it also dries a lot quicker because it's hot. And because it's cheap, you can really slap it on, and it's really good for doing nice wet moldable stuff, and also very good for doing the paper towel overlays. Just pounce that in, and you can use a lot of it. Non-toxic, of course. There you are. Now, where you've done previous work in mending, it's very good for sealing what you have already done so that you use less paint on the next coat. So it's a good sealer for your paper mache. On panels that you've used several times and they've begun to rip and tear a little bit, it's very good for doing quick mending jobs. Also, when you are installing the panels, sometimes you need to do some little patches and also some little fix-ups, and it's good for that. You can just slap it on there, wet your patching material on the back, and it's a good idea also to just put down some little bits of string or fibre from some material just to reinforce that, and then with the brush smooth it down. And you can use your fingers too, and it's nice and slippery, and do a few layers of that. Now, some rocks have a little bit of a shiny or wet aspect to them, so if you paint it a good layer or two of just glue, the corn flour glue, and let it dry, it will dry slightly shiny, and so that will give it that sort of wettish looking texture to it, sort of like a sealer varnish paint. Now, you can even use the corn flour as a base coat paint by adding some dusts or some powders. This powder is old cement that's gone off and won't set, so I'm using that. This is some powdered brick that I've collected from a building site. You could powder clays, different coloured clays for that, and this is charcoal from aquarium filters. I've also used things like old pastels, powdered pastels as well. But using these inert dusts, non-toxic ones of course. You can add them to your glue. So I'll just add some brick dust to give that a little bit of a red look. It's a little bit of a translucent colour because it just is, but it saves you money on the next coats of paint not having to be quite so thick, and you can do several coats as well with this, and it's good enough for my rock scenery. Let's put a little bit of carbon filter stuff. And there is a second coat before dry brushing. Then with some dry brushing, and you could leave that matte coloured, and you can even mix some sand in it to give it a little bit of a gritty texture, or with another layer or two of cornstarch glue to give it that slightly shiny aspect to it. You can also rescue a little bit of old paint and non-toxic types of powders as well. Put some of that old paint into the blender, an old blender, or at least ask your wife or whoever permission to use the blender, and whiz it up. Now make sure you wash everything really well after having put all that coloured water back into a bucket to let it settle. Then you can use that water as the basis of another lot of glue. Now, being organic, it means it won't keep for very long. It doesn't have a long shelf life because the bacteria will start to eat it when it's in its wet and custard type state. But once it's dry, it'll keep for years and years as long as you keep it dry. Along with the cloves in it, it will also help to preserve it a little bit more as well. You can wash everything up in water and you're done. It's a great material.